Awesome. Thanks, Monica. Thank you, thank you. In 1967, the Beatles released their song, Hello, Goodbye. You say yes, I say no. You say stop, and I say go, 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 oh no. You say goodbye, and I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. Hello, hello. I don't know why you say goodbye, I say hello. The juxtaposition of emotions in this Beatles song, yes versus no, stop versus go, high versus low, why versus I don't know, shows a tension that is always present in our communities, people at different places and at different stages of their lives, trying to live together. And Scripture is no different, especially from what we heard in Deuteronomy this morning. While the people of Israel are saying goodbye to Moses, they are also preparing to say hello to their new leader, Joshua. For some, it might be too soon, and for others, not soon enough. In Moses' dying, the significance of his life became clear, what it was and what it was not. He was the one called to liberate a great people from enslavement and to lead them on a wilderness journey to a new identity. But he was not the one to take them into their new land. That was for the next leader. In all those years of wilderness wandering, Moses and God lived an extraordinary relationship. Their conversation in Exodus 33, when Moses persuaded God not to abandon the people of Israel, was just one of the many intimate encounters between these old friends. But now the one who is at the heart of our living and dying decides it is time for this episode of the great adventure to close. A different kind of leader is to be called out for the next challenge. Before Moses dies, his divine and compassionate friend takes him to a high point and shows him the land that lies at the end of all that wilderness journey. Does the heart of God ache when such a journey comes to an end? The spirit, energy, and wisdom of Moses have gone, but not before another leader has been mentored and blessed. Now a sacred space opens up into which steps Joshua, son of Nun, full of the spirit of wisdom, ready to embody the next moment in the unfolding story of God. Something lively and sacred in us wants to celebrate the passing on of faith and leadership from one generation to another. That's God's Spirit active in us, applauding the healthy choices and discerning the path of wisdom. It's true that there is fragility in human life. We see that in Moses' passing. It's also the case that this remarkable resilience and heroism lives in the people for a lifetime, and then echoes out in a story for generations to come. So it was with Moses and Joshua. So it is with us in our Protestant Christian history. In addition to everything else that's going on today, this is also known as Reformation Sunday. On October 31st, 1517, Martin Luther wrote a letter to his superiors in which he denounced the sale of indulgences and asked for repayment and removal of the misunderstandings. With the letter, he included 95 theses. These 95 radical statements expressed Martin Luther's growing concerns with the corruption within the church and called for a complete reform of the Catholic Church. Martin Luther actually nailed these 95 theses to the Wittenberg Castle Church in Germany. It was this revolutionary act that later became known as the Protestant Reformation. The Catholic Church found Martin Luther's act to be so radical and non-conforming that he was eventually excommunicated. He was asked to say goodbye. The excommunication of Martin Luther from the Catholic Church ushered in what became known as the Protestant Reformation, and something new was able to say hello. Reverend Tracy Blackman, Associate General Minister of Justice and Local Church Ministries of the United Church of Christ, writes that, quote, in Martin Luther's time, his rejection of religious dogma was seen by some as confrontational and by others as courageous. Which one of these words most aptly describes that time may still be debatable. But what cannot be argued is the fact that there was precedence for such a bold act, because Jesus himself had come to challenge the religious dogma of his day, and one result of his challenge was the formation of the early church. End quote. Much like Moses, Martin Luther took the Reformation to a certain point, and others took his ideas and ran with them, expanded upon them, disagreed with them, and made churches out of the doctrine Luther espoused. Theologian and author Leonard Sweet once said that it is important to know where God is not going to use you. Knowing this, however, does not make it easier to say goodbye when you realize that somebody else is needed for the new work that is about to be done. What a question to ask. Where will God not use you? It sounds like such a negative question, and yet I don't think it is. We all have been given certain gifts to use in ways that make our lives and our churches remarkable vessels of hope and love. We can't do it all, even though sometimes we think we can. Reverend Blackman continues to write that, quote, the church is a living organism that is both affected and infected by human proclivities. We, as the ecclesia, are influenced by culture and context. We often institute codes of conduct and ways of being crafted to facilitate our living in community together, but sometimes those ways of being become barriers in the community we seek to create. The United Church of Christ identifies itself with this tradition and also recognizes that the church is yet reforming. She continues to say that we, like all communities, have become institutionalized, may not always adapt to our changing context. Perhaps there are ways of being, ways of serving, ways of discipleship that need reforming. Living organisms grow and living organisms change in order to thrive in a changing world. The message of the church remains the gospel, but perhaps some of our delivery systems need an upgrade. In our case, yes, we must be willing to reform the institution, yet we must also be willing to consider that reformation is also a call to reform ourselves. We are the church. We are the living organism. End quote. In honor of the Reformation, let us be mindful of our ancestors in faith who took significant risk by nailing 95 theses on the front door of the church in hopes to share a concern, not knowing that it would change our very culture and our very world. Let's be mindful of the many who have had to say goodbye. The many we've had to say goodbye to what once was in order to say hello to a reformation of the church and our very lives to hear the call to serve, to love, to care, to act, and to continue to reform. Today is always a good day for reformation and to make holy